Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Reliving the Extreme. The Maxim Brothers here with you. I'm Nate, that's Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
And we are here this week covering the episode of ECW TV from October the 15th, 1996. And the footage, I believe, in the show was filmed at the Ultimate Jeopardy show. I'm pretty sure, yes. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But before we get into that, first of all, as we are recording today, I'm not going to go into details, but our co-host Chad Austin is undergoing a surgery, and we wish him the best and recovery. And he will be back soon enough. Chad, we just want to send Godspeed and good wishes and happy thoughts your way. And Chad. Chad's an open book, and I'm sure once he gets back, he will elaborate on it. He has no shame to talk about anything in his life, but I do not presume to tell about other people's lives, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know. He'll be female when he comes back. That's all we'll
say. Change his name to something ambiguous like Pat.
Yeah.
Here's our co-host, Pat Austin.
I don't know what the female version of Chad is.
Well, it has to be something like Chris or Pat, or it has to be something, but not female. It has to be ambiguous. That's more funny.
Yes. It's Derry Austin.
But what I want to talk about before we get into the ECW show is coming up here in just a couple of days. I will be sending out, for those of you that don't know, those of you that listen regularly to our shows know, but we have our own Hall of Fame here at our network, the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame. Normally, I send out the ballots in December. This year, I decided to start doing a month earlier, get the ballots out in November, and do the Hall of Fame in December. And also this year, normally we have a nominating process where the people that vote, the panel nominates people, and then based on how many people get nominated, et cetera, I take the tops of the nominations, put them onto the ballot. This year, we are not doing the nomination process. Here's why I say that. Last year, after the nomination process, I wound up with like a ballot of like 32 people. And I like the ballot to be 20. Currently, as of last year, left over on the ballot were 22. So we are just going to stick with the 22 this year. And that will get me back down below 20 again next year. So we can do a nominating process again next year and get back to 20, if that makes sense.
So you're going to send us 22 names and we got to pick how many?
Yes. Yes, you'll be. Everything else remains normal. You're going to pick 8. You're going to vote for 8.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, though, I'm not having a nomination. We're just going to stick with the 22 that were here on the ballot still from last year. Anybody that listens knows that a talent gets 5 years on the ballot. And if they don't make it in within 5 years, they go back to the nominating process, which will once again resume next year. So I'll just tell you real quick, and Aaron, I'll be sending this to you, so you don't have to write it down or anything. But just so everybody knows, this will be the ballot for this year's, the 2024 We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame. I will also tell you how many years the person has been on the ballot so far. The first one this year has been on the ballot for 5 years. We have been doing the Hall of Fame for 5 years. This is his 5th year on the ballot. I've tried to get him in over and over again. It hasn't worked. Ricky Dozon. If Ricky Dozon does not get in this year, he goes back to the nominating process. He will fall off the ballot. Mick Foley, 4 years on the ballot. Arn Anderson, 4 years on the ballot. The Rock, 4 years on the ballot. Bob Backlund, 4 years on the ballot. Vader, 3 years. Midnight Express, 3 years. Sherry Martel, 3 years. Rick Rude, 3 years. Rick Steamboat, 3 years. Sergeant Slaughter, 3 years. John Cena, 3 years. Rey Mysterio, 2 years. And then, of course, because this is just leftovers from last year, everybody else on this ballot is this like Rey. This is their 2nd year on the ballot. Rey Mysterio Jr., Antonio Inoki, Chris Jericho, Trish Stratus, Kane, Jimmy Hart, Gorgeous George, the Von Erichs, Eddie Guerrero, and Buddy Rose. So that is your 2024 ballot for the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame.
All right. I had some good ones in my mind that I wanted to add, but that's okay.
We'll get back. Like I said, we'll get back to the. I just, like I said, last year the ballot was big, and I was just like, this ballot's too big. So to make the ballot stay at 20 over the next year, I may think of some more caveats to the nomination process, for next year. But
yeah.
For right now, we'll stick with this 22. That'll be your Hall of Fame ballot for 2024. I'll see if I can get enough people to vote for Ricky Dozon this year to get him in. If not, he will go back to the nominating process. And then, like I said, it's just 2 more years for Foley, Arn Anderson, The Rock, and Bob Backlund. So we'll see how it goes. It's interesting. It's a fun experiment. If you want to know who all is already in the Hall of Fame, there are probably names you can already guess, like a Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair, Steve Austin, an Undertaker, what have you. But if you want to, you can go back through the archives and listen to any of the Hall of Fame episodes of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And I think I may have even put some Hall of Fame conversation here on Reliving the Extreme as well. So
yeah, it was really weird when Mantar made it. That's a
It's fun. It's funny to me that Jim Cornette doesn't remember managing Mantar for more than one night. I mean, he managed him for like 5 months, and all he remembers is the first time they sent him out with him. And then like Brian Last would be like, "Yeah, but you managed him when he was doing that King of the Ring qualifying match." And Jim Cornette's like, I don't even remember that. With his memory,
it's probably put it out of his memory. But like, God damn. And plus, he probably managed him one night 6 times, and then something on Raw or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. With how many shows they taped in one night.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'd want to put it out of my mind too.
All right. So, do you have anything else before we get into the ECW show that you wanted to discuss or anything?
Nope. Just I know we're doing. Hopefully, maybe doing the Hall of Fame 1 month early, plus the Hall of Shame 1 month early. That's my favorite time.
Maybe. Yep, the Hall of Shame is fun too. That's the Comedy Hall of Fame, and that's fun too. But check those out on the We Can't Wrestle podcast feed. Just look up We Can't Wrestle podcast anywhere, just like this one, anywhere you find your favorite podcast or YouTube. And all right, let's do this. October 15th, 1996. This shouldn't take long to review, which is good because I'm feeling kind of low energy today. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just kind of low energy today. But we opened the show with footage from last week's show of all the chaos going on at the end of the show with the tables and such and such. And Joey does his intro talking about the Sandman winning the ECW. And he tells us that the champ is going to join us live via satellite from Boston, Massachusetts, where ECW, I think Joey says they're making their debut in Boston, I believe.
Yeah.
And if Chad was here, I would say, what building do you think they were running in Boston? I would have to look it up myself because I don't really know. I don't know what smaller arena the ECW would have been running in Boston. I'm not as familiar with Boston arenas as I am with some others.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, like I said, I'd probably have to look it up to see, and I'm sure it's easy to find. But Sandman's there via satellite, and then we get acting that makes me beg for Tommy Dreamer acting in this next segment.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
It's so bad. So bad. Joey Styles talks to Lori Fullington, which, first of all, the cutaways are terrible.
Yeah. It's tweaking peaches.
I actually put down here she's acting like a heroin addict, pretty much. She just rubs her arm and acts like a heroin addict.
I don't know if she's acting, but um, I'm sorry, she probably is. But it's terrible. It looks like somebody is asking you for $3 outside of like a Circle K or a 7-Eleven. It just her character is the character that she's portraying is better not speaking.
Yes,
That makes
absolutely.
sense.
Absolutely. She's not good at it. She's not good
Yeah,
at it. She's trying to be a demented, like unhinged woman, but it just comes off as a woman poorly acting as a demented, unhinged woman. It doesn't. It is in no way convincing. Because she talks about, Joey asks her about what does she feel about being abandoned by Raven because he took off and vacated his title, and she talks to him, or she tells Joey that he hasn't quit. He's quit. He hasn't just quit wrestling. He's quit life. And Joey's like, I don't understand what that means. But then she says, like, did she say he's gone to Japan?
he's gone overseas.
Overseas. That's what it was. Life. What does that mean? That means he's gone overseas.
He's
Okay, I
gone
don't even know
overseas.
what that.
It
What?
means he's flowing spirit. So we don't know if he's gonna make it back.
JetBlue.
Yeah, JetBlue. It's stupid, and we also find out that Raven's apparently taken Tyler Sandboy overseas with him.
Which is
So like, I hope he's
kidnapping.
not. Yeah, I hope he's not like taking him to like Thailand. Like the whole
Yep.
thing's stupid.
It's very convoluted. And I know it's the Raven character and the Raven story and everything, but this whole thing would have been so much better served if two things would have happened. At first, they would have just went ahead and to vacate the championship and let Sandman win some kind of a small one-night tournament or something to become champion. First, you get rid of that stupid thing I didn't like last week with Richards defending Raven's title, and then you don't have to worry about some convoluted, awful shit like this. Raven's stuff doesn't work unless Raven's there.
Yeah. And he's gone overseas is so stupid. He put PTO in to fly to Sudan with Sandboy. Like, what the hell?
Oh man. Yeah, it's definitely bad stuff. Bad stuff. Terrible acting from Lori. Joey has to try to sell it like it's good and it's not. Raven has kidnapped a child.
Just now sold him into child prostitution in the Sudan or whatever.
It's very, very bad. So we come back from the break after that, and they show footage of the Sandman appearing to have just been told what Lori just said and walking away from the press conference in Boston. Joey Styles talks about the choke slam Tommy Dreamer took last week, and then
That footage, like, obviously wasn't like, satellite footage or whatever. But the way Todd ushers out Hack, I think it was footage of Hack honestly probably having one too many and Todd being like, all right,
it's time to
this
go.
press conference is over, yeah.
But then when they had the story they wanted to tell, they were like, "Hey, it looks like he's all
Yeah.
upset leaving the press
Yeah.
conference."
Todd's consoling him. It's like, no, Todd's helping him out of the room.
They took advantage of that though. And then Joey Brian Lee are going to be involved in it. The match I couldn't remember the name of last week. It's the footage is in my brain, but I couldn't remember the name. High Incident is what it's called. The High Incident match on October 26th. The scaffold and the ring will be filled with tables. And that is the what we were talking about last week, where we said we're coming up on that iconic scene that after it happens is going to be at the beginning of every ECW show until ECW closes. And to their credit, it is an iconic scene.
It's very fucking visually impressive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you got to give, I don't know if we're going to watch the show or not, but you got to give, I know we shit on him a lot, but you got to give Brian Lee a lot of props for fucking doing it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And we will be seeing it. Let me see here. Sorry, I got lost in my notes for a second.
It's okay.
The next thing on the show is the rematch between Taz and Johnny Smith. This time it is a submissions match. And you were saying before we went on the air, you didn't even watch the whole match?
Not the whole thing, just because I couldn't get past the whistle again. I was just like, you know what? It's a submission match, and I do like that style of wrestling. You know that about me. Mm-hmm. But I'm just like, you know what? I can't do it with the whistle.
Yeah, it's definitely been much more intense the past few weeks. I don't know if they mic'd the whistle or what the hell, but
I just think it's because, like I said before, like when he starts managing Sabu and RVD, and I'm not knocking Taz, but there's more going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like that's just kind of background noise for it or whatever. But the whistle, I can't. It's too much.
It is definitely a sensory overload, most definitely. What I can tell you is the match itself was good. It's funny because I liked their first match better than this. The first match was better. Maybe the submission, maybe even though they're good submission wrestlers, maybe the submission stipulation put some, I don't know, made them slow it down more during this match to get the point across. But this match was a good technical wrestling match, but the last one was better. The way that it ends is Smith goes up to the top, hits a muscle drop kick and a clothesline, and after a body slam, he goes back up top. Taz gets the knees up on a splash, and then Taz hits a wheelbarrow suplex on Smith, which is pretty fucking impressive looking, actually. And then he puts him in the Taz mission and makes Smith submit. But yeah, the wheelbarrow suplex that he did was pretty impressive. And Joey actually mentions, I think he was saying that Taz was going to save it, but he needed to use that suplex during this match.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't skip all of that. I just kind of fast forward a little bit, stop it. Fast forward a little bit, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But and like I said, the style of the match and everything's like, I know this is gonna be whatever. And if Fonzie would have been out there, I probably would have been down for the whole thing. Fonzie's kind of annoying right now.
Yeah, because even after this match, Taz cuts a promo, and it would have been perfectly effective had Fonzie not picked up the microphone, because Taz says pretty much he says he's on a path of rage. Johnny Smith's pretty much a victim of his path of rage. And then Fonzie decides to pick up the microphone and say,
and try that chant that oh, sorry.
I was going to
say you cut. Go ahead, say it.
He says Path of Rage like it felt like 46 times.
Yeah, it's like you were trying to remember the chant that Fonzie was trying to start,
Mm-hmm.
and it was that chant like "Who can stop the path of rage?" And I know he's probably being told to say that, like go out there and say "Who can stop the path of rage?" But it's like
Mm-hmm.
this chant isn't gonna work.
It's not, yeah, it has no ring to it whatsoever. It's not catchy.
Yeah, this crowd isn't gonna be like "Who can stop the path of rage?" It's like, yeah, it's terrible.
And I know, like Aaron said, I know the past couple of weeks we've been kind of hard on Fonzie. We are Fonzie fans. Don't get us wrong. You've heard us in the past talk about how great he is and how funny he is and shit. But yeah, you're right, Aaron. These past couple of weeks, for some reason, he's just been extra annoying and not entertaining.
I was trying to look up if the high incident show was on the cock, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I was thinking like I know we don't watch a lot of the super shows or whatever, but that one's eventful because A, it's got the high incident match on it, and B, that's the professional wrestling debut of Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like high incident. So I typed in high and then INC, just to see what would come up. And it's super weird. The first thing that popped up. And I can even send a picture of it. So I'm not making it up. I typed in high INC and guess what came up as the results on Peacock.
Is there a show called High Ink?
No.
No. Hmm.
Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren.
May this be our final battle.
Yeah. It's like, why did that pop up?
Hey, I want to say something about that movie. As a kid, it's one of the most disappointing movies ever. You saw that there was a He-Man movie. You wanted to see Eternia. You wanted to see what you see on the cartoon and all that stuff, and then it's fucking He-Man goes to Earth,
Yeah, it's like in Los Angeles or whatever. It's like, what
and
is
there's
going on?
there's like
Why is He-Man in Calabasas? It's like, what is happening?
Courtney Cox or whatever, and some dude with big hair, and there's your stereotypical cop guy that's like the bald cop guy, and they didn't even have Otho. They had some troll looking fucking dude. Yeah, Skeletor was cool in that movie, but that was about it. Frank Langella as Skeletor was cool, but
Yeah.
other than that, that movie fucking sucked. Even not even 10-year-old me was like, this fucking sucks. This isn't He-Man. What the fuck is this shit? He-Man in a situation comedy? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad.
Like, it's one of
Like
those movies. It's one of those movies. I don't even go back now in my adulthood and watch it. Fuck it.
yeah, the only thing worse than it was like there were a couple movies that like DC made because they didn't want their um what do you call it? Like now like people can make movies about like Mickey
Oh,
Mouse and like
their copyright or their patent
yeah or whatever.
whatever.
Yeah, their patent for film wise, like DC did that. Like they made that Fatal Four, like that Fantastic Four movie that was terrible, and then um I don't I don't I'm not a comic book guy, but I
I
remember
think they made a shitty Green Lantern movie too.
yeah but yeah, a couple different comic book things did that. Like um Marvel even did it when they made that I remember watching that Captain America movie.
Yeah,
Oh
that
man,
fucking
this is
god awful.
bad.
God awful.
This is really bad.
Yeah, they had a couple of them
Yeah.
too. They had a Marvel had a shitty Spider-Man one at one point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fuck the He-Man movie. Um, The next thing we get on the show that we're discussing is the Eliminators. They come to the ring, and it is announced that on October 26th, they will be facing Dr. Death Steve Williams and Terry Bam Bam Gordy, or as ECW loves to call them, Doc and Gordy. Doc and Gordy against the Eliminators coming up also on the October 26th High Incident show. And the match that we get is the Eliminators versus the Samoan Gangsta Party. And when I saw the Samoan Gangsta Party on this show, I went all Sherry Martel, Eric Bischoff.
Oh, I thought you were gone.
Damn, I thought you were gone.
And I think this might have been a match that I don't know. I don't know if this was a match that was from something that they just never aired or if they just brought him back. But I like whenever they bring him back, I like giving them different names
What you got
than what
this
they
week?
actually have. This was the Eliminators versus Big Patty Smells and Silky Bottom Butter.
Big Patty Smells. He's wearing. I don't know if he's always been wearing it or whatever, but maybe I just missed it. But Rosie was wearing a fucking like tuxedo shirt.
Yeah. And it's funny because I like both the guys. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
like Rosie. I like Samu. Like I got no problem with either one of the guys, but
The thing that gets me the most about the Samoans in ECW is when you think of the Samoans and their style, you would think the Samoans would fit into ECW great, but they just don't. They just
yeah,
don't. They just don't fit in. You know, you would think with their fucking because they're badass motherfuckers, and you'd think with that style they'd fit in, but it just don't work. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't click.
I think part of it is the fact that, you know, you're not gonna do that to me. You know what I mean? Like that was part of the ECW deal was all these guys were willing to like, you know,
Yeah, feed each other's feed into each other's madness.
yeah. And I just can't see somebody looking at Samu and being like, oh yeah, then we're gonna choke slam you through two flaming tables.
Fuck you
No,
are.
no, you're not. I'll do that to you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not gonna do that to me. You know, I just
Mm-hmm.
and I know you said you didn't want to go too long on this, but I had an interesting thought when I was watching this
Okay.
because they're both the sons of the Wild Samoans.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watched it, I'm like, are these guys? And this might sound like a stupid question or whatever, but are they the first second generation tag team?
Mm-hmm.
Like I know there's second generation wrestlers before them,
No,
but I
no, they're
can't
not.
remember. They're
No, they're
not.
not. Nope. The Rougeos.
Yeah, but their dad was their dad. I'm saying like, is this the first tag team of their dad, and this dad were a team,
Oh,
and
okay.
now their two
Okay.
sons are a team?
Now I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe. Now when you said second, you know why I got confused.
Yeah,
When
I
you said
know.
second generation. Okay, but yeah, now I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe. Now that you mention it, or now that I've clarified on what you were trying to say.
And I was just trying to rack my brain of did it ever happen even after that? But I'm like, I can't think of another team where like this guy's dad and this guy's dad were a tag team, and then these two guys teamed up. I don't know. I might be overthinking it or whatever, but I'm like, they might be the first and possibly only like
We're,
second generation tag team.
we're a team and our dads are a team. I'm gonna fucking research
Yeah.
that shit later now. now my
So maybe it's not as dumb as the question as I thought.
no, you got my wrestling nerd brain going. So
Because I was trying to think. I'm like, I don't think it. I think it might be. Because Ted DiBiase Jr. and Bray Wyatt never teamed up. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. Do your research and let me know.
I don't think Bob Orton. Well, no, Bob Orton Jr. and Dusty Rhodes never teamed up. Yeah, you might be right.
Okay.
Did Ted DiBiase and Bob Orton never team up?
I don't know.
But they're not related. Shit. Fuck, I don't know. All right.
Yeah, I think it might be the only first and only second generation tag team, which would be crazy.
And it's and by the
You also
way,
forget you also forget how long Rosie was in the business
yeah,
too.
yeah. And you also forget until you go back. Well, I mean, you don't forget, but you don't really think about. You don't think about until you see them. When you see Paulie with the Samoan SWAT team in NWA in 1989, how far back Paulie goes with the fucking Bloodline storyline.
Yeah,
Like he's been there the whole fucking time.
yeah. Like we were all thin.
we had the great Kahuna with us.
Yeah, we were all thin. We had mullets. I'm still we're getting into the weeds, but I'm still waiting for Rikishi to show up. I don't know how it can't not happen. I don't know. But anyway.
So our next match is the main event match of the show. This is another thing that has an iconic moment of ECW in it. And actually, when I saw this happen on the show, this is the first time this episode of ECW, at least either this episode of ECW or the one after it, if they do a recap of this, was the first time I myself, at however old I was in 1996, 14, got to actually see ECW on TV, not presented by the WWF on their TV, but the first time I remember seeing it on TV because we were with our dad that weekend, and for some reason, our dad's cable here had Sunshine Network out of Florida, and ECW was on Sunshine Network at this time, and I actually got to watch ECW. This is the first time in my memory I remember watching it.
Yeah, and at first I was like, is this it? And then when I saw like this might sound stupid, but when I saw that Pitbull one was swinging around that red towel, I'm like, this is it. This is when it happens. And I know we're gonna get to the bump and we all kind of laugh about the bump or whatever. But him and that halo, everything he does looks awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like Nick, you said, just like swinging that little towel around or whatever.
Yeah. Even when he's just like standing there looking around, it's like, this is awkward. And I think, and I could be wrong, like I said, Chad's not here, so we can't ask him. I think initially that Halo thing might have been required, but I think we've gotten to the point now where I think he was still hurt, but I don't think
Oh
the
yeah,
Halo was connected.
there's no way that he's still that hurt and them letting him do this.
Yeah.
Take a bump. There's no way. Even for ECW, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't think they took it off him. He's like, well, I still got this fucking contraption. All right, let's just keep having you wear it.
It's dramatic, but it is like and we're gonna get to it in a minute. Say what you want. That people say, and I agree some, and I say the same thing about the Attitude Era in the WWF. There's a lot of ECW that does not age well. There's a lot of ECW that you look back, you watch it, and you're like, this isn't as awesome as I thought it was, or whatever. Or it just doesn't age well. But the iconic moments of ECW, Paulie was so good at making iconic moments.
Yeah. And I'm sometimes in the minority because you know how I am. It's like I like the two extremes of wrestling for some reason. Like I like, you know, watching World of Sport Wrestling and watching two guys have like a 3-round match. You know, like Johnny Smith or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I love the fucking ridiculous shit too. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the shit that makes me laugh. So it's different for me. Or not, I shouldn't even say make me laugh, just the outlandish shit, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So to me, it's different. Like I can watch the Attitude Era now and just still be like, "That's
Yeah, I
fucking
get
great."
if I say I'm watching WWF chronologically, I get to about SummerSlam '98, and I can easily skip to like mid 2000. Like I can skip late '98, all of '99, and early 2000. Other than like maybe Mick and Hunter in early 2000, but yeah, the Attitude Era just does not. I don't know. It's not. It was
I don't know.
entertaining. It
I
was
guess
entertaining in the moment. It was entertaining in the moment, and there's still great stuff. Austin and McMahon is great and stuff, but I'm saying overall the product just I don't dig it now.
I know, I get it. But I just recently watched Undertaker and Paul Bearer trying to embalm the Steve Austin alive, and I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. And like Kane showing up, and then where they put fucking Undertaker in the body bag, and Paul Bearer thinks it's Kane, and they have the orderlies take him away, and then Kane and the Undertaker, or Paul Bearer and or Austin and Kane throw Paul Bearer in the sewer. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I love it. But anyway,
The match that we're talking about here is Pitbull 2 versus Shane Douglas for the World TV for the ECW TV title. Pitbull won, like Aaron and I alluded to. He is in his big halo contraption at ringside. And then so the match progresses. I don't have a lot of notes on the actual action in the match. Douglas and
not
Pitbull 2 always mesh pretty well in the ring, though.
yeah, but they had the same match a lot,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the match.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like it's not the same thing, but it could be compared to it because even though he hated the guy, he always wanted to be him. It's kind of like Sting versus Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They never had a bad match, but they had the same match.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of how I feel about Pitbull and Pitbull 2 and Shane. Is I like watching them wrestle, but you can't tell me these guys aren't. They don't have their little blueprint for their match, you know?
Right. Right. Well, the match goes on back and forth. It's just kind of a back and forth match. You know, there's a little bit of drama with Gary Wolf on the outside, Francine's on the outside. Eventually, Pitbull 2 has control of the match. The Eliminators come out, and Joey does a good job of going, what's the deal with the Eliminators and Shane Douglas here? He actually brings it up. Sometimes in ECW, Joey just lets shit go because he's like, I don't fucking. But he actually asks the question during commentary. They actually hit the total elimination. First they come out and Pitbull gives them a double clothesline, like hulks up or whatever, but he winds up eating a total elimination anyway from the Eliminators. They leave. They just leave. I don't know. They're just gone. Pitbull 2 makes kind of a comeback. He actually comes back from that, and him and Shane have a more of a back and forth. Francine reaches in her dress, pulls out a bag of cocaine. Sorry, it's not.
Yes. Oh,
But,
I put that in there. This big bag of cocaine.
and she throws it in the ring. Pitbull doesn't see her throw it in the ring, but he sees her on the apron as a distraction. He pulls her into the ring, and WWE, Peacock, whoever, they tried to wash it. Did you hear what the crowd was saying when he had her on her knees?
No.
Yeah, they were totally saying suck his dick. WWE, like they tried to wash it, but I could hear it. Because I saw guys like doing like the thing with their fist in the background. So I'm like, what are they saying? So I kind of rewound it a little bit because you could tell that WWE tried to fucking get it out of there, but it wasn't all the way
Yeah.
gone.
Wrestling fans are the best. I mean, it goes all the way back from like you can go all the way back to watching um Sherry trying to get Warrior to give Macho Man the title match or whatever. And she's like,
Mhm.
I'm on my knees. And that crowd, they weren't like suck his dick,
Ooh,
but that crowd was
yeah.
like, those cats are like, yeah.
Do it, Warrior. Do it.
I do it, you do it.
Fuck her in the pussy.
But anyway.
But instead of defiling the woman in front of a live audience, Pitbull 2 picks Francine up and gives her a power slam, which pops the crowd. But then the powder that she threw to Shane Douglas comes back to haunt the Pitbull because Shane throws the powder in Pitbull 2's face, hits a DDT, single arm DDT, and he gets the dog collar and the chain around the neck, the full Nelson. So essentially the story is he's trying to break Pitbull 2's neck just like he broke Pitbull 1's neck.
And that actually was a cool spot because I've never seen anybody do that before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen anybody do it since. Where like they wrapped the thing around, then got you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like and then like oh I'll grab it with my arms or whatever. And I'll give the guy the full Nelson, but I'm still choking him. I was like, yeah, that's kind of a cool spot. I saw it. But anyway,
Well, Pitbull 1 gets up on the apron. He then
awkwardly
awkwardly gets on the apron, then awkwardly gets in the ring in his halo. And here comes the iconic spot. And I wrote this down on my notes, and it didn't even look funny to me when I wrote it down, apparently. But now I'm kind of laughing about it because it sounds like a dance. I put down Douglas gives Wolf the halo shake. He's doing the halo shake.
and then he falls like an old person, like in stages, telling parts.
If you've watched ECW, you know the segment we're talking about, folks.
Yeah, because that's in all their videos too. It's just as iconic as the Brian Lee spot and the Raven getting hit with the chair when he's crucified, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is right up there with all that. And the crowd really did hate it, like not hate it, like boo, like they were pissed. And it worked with all the wrestlers running in. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one of the best. This is one of the best segments they ever did. And I might go out on a limb, and he might tell me I'm wrong or whatever. But I think um, Douglas versus the Pitbulls should be up in like the top 5 feuds that company ever had.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And this can, like you said, not only just the fact that the guy had a broken neck, and add to that the fact that the Pitbulls are kind of hometown boys to the ECW crowd. Shane's a shitty fucking heel. There's an injury involved. There's, like you said, it's realistic. The wrestlers come out, and most of them side with the Pitbull. When they go through the back, there's a couple of guys that are, and it's cool. It's cool
And
too
it,
that like Taz
Taz and
is
the
back there.
Pitbulls or Taz and the Eliminators are like, good job.
Yeah, good job. Good job. Yeah, so you got a few fucking assholes back there, you know.
I think Taz is
All of
even.
which
I think
have history with the pit bulls.
yeah, I think Perry was even like, "Hey, you got to really twist it there, buddy," or whatever. Like it was good shit.
And then of course there's the stretcher job. And then I also liked the added bonus of Joel Gertner continually
Yeah,
trying to say the winner and still TV champion, or at least to say still TV champion. he says it first, and Todd Gordon says this isn't the time for that, blah blah blah, and he pushes him down. And then Gertner gets up again and tries to announce it again that Douglas is still the champion, and this time Paulie attacks him to a big pop.
You can hear Paulie in the background when he's like, when the guy like before he even announces it, like Gertner's character stands up, and you hear Paulie be like, "Don't you do it!" like
I didn't
he's
catch
like,
that.
"Don't you do it!" Yeah, you can hear Paulie be like, "Don't you do it!" And then Paul attacks him, and I think it's like, it's just all well done, and just it's not the first time they did it, and they didn't overuse the whole behind the scenes type thing like that. Like they used it when it was important.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this. I did notice that, and I don't know if it was on this show that he's going to debut, but did you notice that this was the first time since, like, obviously, like Cabrini or whatever, that Candido was out there? Did you notice him?
I did not.
Yeah, Candido was out there, so I don't know if he was debuting at this show and had a match or whatever, but yeah,
I know
he
him.
was out there,
I know
so.
him. I know him coming in isn't too far. If it isn't this show, it's not too far because he is out of the WWF in August of '96, and this is October, and he it wasn't too long between WWF and ECW.
Yeah, so I think he's getting over being hurt.
I think.
He
Yeah, I
got
was gonna say. I think his.
he got released.
I'm pretty sure his last WWF show is that SummerSlam where he's in the neck brace. They have that 4-way match.
Yeah.
And he's in the neck brace, and he doesn't wrestle, but yeah.
Yeah, he's in a black ECW hat and a black and white jumpsuit. So I was like, is that Chris? Yeah, it's Chris Candido. Good.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to him.
And that night, Paulie walked up to him and said, "Do you happen to have any credit cards?" But yeah, I would say, to be honest with you, because of the main event, because we started off, it was I was not I didn't look at the preview of the show before I started watching it, so I just turned it on, and I saw that stuff at the beginning with Peaches, and I was like, yuck. And then the submission match was good, but you watch this, and the submission match was good. But you watch this match and all that unfolds during this match and everything involved in this match, and I can say this is easily one of the top 5 episodes of ECW TV so far.
Yeah, and it did. How do I say it? It did something good in the fact that it started slow and kind of whatever, and then it built into something big. You know what I mean? Like, I liked the fact that at the beginning of the show, Joey wasn't like, later on, we're going to see something tragic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like how they do sometimes, or like, earlier tonight, there was the biggest, ugliest incident I've ever seen. Like, they let this thing be a surprise. So that's what I liked about it. And the Lori thing was bad. And that's not her fault.
Yeah, I was just about to say I think that's an instance of the promoter asking someone to do something that someone is not qualified to do.
Yeah, so that wasn't her fault, but it just wasn't good television. I didn't mind the Eliminator squash match, and what I watched of the submission match, it was good. But this was to me like, this is ECW.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm not gonna be mad at the show.
Not at all. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here for this week's Halo Shake edition of Reliving the Extreme. And I know Aaron and I say the same thing at the end of every show, but it is the most important thing to say. Let your friends know about the show. If you like what we do here at Reliving the Extreme or the WNR Podcast Network, the best way to grow things, the best way to to keep it going is to let people know so we get more listeners, more of a community. You can always email us, relivingtheextreme@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, anything like that. Even if you're following along and you see, oh, next week the guys are doing October 22nd, 1996, I'm going to watch that show. And if you have a comment about the show that we're watching, I'll read it. You know, it's all about listenership. So that being said, again, I'll end the show the way we started the show. We want to send our best wishes and thoughts to Chad and hope everything goes well on his end, and give everybody an update as soon as he is able to do so or willing to let me. Yeah. We'll let you know.
Get well, girl.
And we will see everybody next week as we will continue. October 22nd, 1996 will be the episode of ECW we'll be watching if you're watching along, as we continue reliving the extreme.